Hello! I would be very pleased if you would like the video. Subscribe so you don't miss new videos every day that will help you relax. I'm also curious where you are listening to me from and what time it is now. Write it in the comments. Enjoy watching! The first light of dawn touched the peaks of the Andes, spilling golden rays over the terraced fields that clung to the steep mountainsides. In the village nestled between jagged cliffs, the sound of birds and distant waterfalls stirred the people from their slumber. Young and old alike rose from woven mats, wrapping themselves in brightly colored textiles, woven with symbols of their ancestors, ready to greet the day with labor and devotion. From the center of the village came the scent of roasted maize and the soft murmur of water flowing through the irrigation channels. Children ran barefoot over the stone-paved paths, laughing as they chased guinea pigs, while elders prepared offerings for the household shrine, carefully placing coca leaves and chicha in small clay bowls. Each action, though ordinary, was a thread in the intricate fabric of Inca life, a harmony of work, ritual, and family. By mid-morning, the fields buzzed with activity. Men tended to the potato terraces, turning the soil with wooden digging sticks, while women moved gracefully among the rows, planting beans and maize. The rhythm of labor was punctuated by soft songs and the occasional call to one another across the terraces. Livestock, llamas and alpacas, wandered along the paths, their bells chiming, reminding everyone of the wealth they brought through wool, meat, and transport. Near the temple atop the hill, priests prepared for the morning ritual. They adorned themselves in elaborate headdresses and tunics dyed in vibrant reds and yellows. Smoke from burning incense curled into the crisp mountain air as the villagers approached, offering thanks to Inti, the sun god. Even the youngest children watched in wide-eyed reverence, learning the sacred movements and chants that had been passed down through generations. As the sun climbed higher, the village's artisans set to work. Potters shaped clay on rudimentary wheels, creating bowls and ceremonial vessels, while weavers tightened threads on large looms, producing textiles that told stories of conquest, gods, and nature. Traders prepared to journey down winding trails to nearby settlements, carrying surplus crops and crafted goods, negotiating with neighboring tribes in a language of gestures, symbols, and measured words. The heat of noon drew everyone back to the shade of their dwellings. Meals were simple but nourishing: stews of potatoes, maize, and beans, sometimes enhanced with roasted quinoa or a piece of dried meat. Water from nearby streams, channeled through stone canals, cooled the lips of villagers. Conversations buzzed with news, jokes, and tales of distant relatives, binding the community with shared history and daily experience. By afternoon, the labor resumed with renewed vigor. Children practiced skills they would need as adults: climbing terraces, tending small gardens, herding young llamas. Apprentices shadowed master weavers and potters, learning to manipulate fibers and clay with patience and precision. Every task, whether monumental or humble, carried a sense of purpose, connecting individuals to the broader weave of Inca society, where each role sustained the collective. As the sun began its descent toward the western peaks, the village shifted into a quieter rhythm. The fields were left in the care of the older children and a few devoted llamas, while adults gathered near the communal plaza. Here, stories were shared, recounting heroic deeds of ancestors, battles fought, and the wisdom of past rulers. These narratives, spoken with reverence, reinforced the values of courage, loyalty, and community, grounding the young in the traditions that had guided the Inca for centuries. The artisans, now joined by elders, continued their meticulous work. Women embroidered patterns into vibrant cloth, each symbol a link to myths of the sun, moon, and mountain spirits. Men carved wooden tools and ceremonial masks, paying attention to every detail. Even in the fading light, laughter and chatter echoed across the stone pathways, a testament to the resilience and joy of village life. Around the temple, the priests prepared for the evening ritual. Fires were lit along the terraces, casting warm, flickering shadows that danced against the stone walls. Villagers approached with offerings: small bundles of maize, colorful feathers, and intricate clay figurines. The priests chanted prayers in Quechua, their voices rising and falling with the wind that swept down the mountains, carrying their devotion to Inti, the sun god. The sacred harmony of the ceremony reminded all that their lives were part of a cosmic balance, where labor, faith, and nature intertwined. Meanwhile, children played along the riverbanks, their bare feet splashing in cold water. They learned from the elders how to identify edible plants, track animal movements, and navigate the treacherous mountain paths. Their education was not only practical but spiritual, as every rock, tree, and river held meaning and memory. Through play and observation, the next generation absorbed the wisdom needed to maintain the village's harmony and sustain the community's survival. Evening meals brought families together once more. Stews of potatoes, beans, and roasted corn were shared around small fires, the smoke rising to mingle with the stars. Conversations were rich with laughter, debate, and reflection. Elders offered advice, recalling stories of how past challenges had been met with ingenuity and courage. Through these shared moments, bonds were strengthened, ensuring that knowledge, culture, and tradition were preserved. As night deepened, the villagers retired to their dwellings, yet the mountains themselves seemed alive. The moon illuminated the terraced fields, and the distant call of nocturnal animals reminded all of the ever-present connection to nature. Fires flickered in the homes, casting gentle light over sleeping children and the quiet forms of elders resting after a day of labor. The heartbeat of the village persisted even in darkness, a silent testament to the endurance and unity of Inca life. Finally, before sleep claimed the village, a few elders sat outside, gazing at the stars and speaking softly to the young apprentices beside them. They pointed out constellations, tracing the patterns of ancient myths across the sky. These moments of wonder instilled reverence and curiosity, linking each individual to a vast cosmos and the enduring legacy of their people. Dawn arrived again, and the village stirred with renewed energy. Morning light spilled across the high terraces, revealing the intricate network of canals and stone walls that guided the life of the community. Farmers moved quickly to inspect the fields, checking the growth of potatoes, maize, and quinoa. Each plant was nurtured carefully, for the bounty of the harvest sustained not just individual households but the entire tribe, connecting them in a web of shared labor and responsibility. The marketplace near the central plaza came alive as traders arrived from neighboring settlements. They carried exotic goods, brightly colored textiles, carved figurines, and rare herbs. Bartering was a dance of gestures, expressions, and numbers, conducted in the melodic flow of Quechua. Villagers exchanged produce, tools, and handmade goods, ensuring the circulation of resources and fostering alliances that strengthened the village's position in the broader region. Meanwhile, the artisans continued their work. Potters shaped clay into bowls, ceremonial vessels, and small statues of gods and ancestors. Weavers tightened their looms, producing cloth dyed in brilliant reds, yellows, and blues. Each piece was more than functional. It was a story, a symbol of identity, and a connection to generations past. Apprentices watched closely, learning the patience and precision that would allow them to contribute to the cultural legacy of the tribe. In the mid-morning sun, men prepared llamas for a journey down the mountain paths. Packs of maize, potatoes, and textiles were carefully balanced, and the animals were guided along narrow stone trails. These expeditions were both practical and symbolic, reinforcing the bonds between villages and allowing for the exchange of knowledge, news, and culture. Children waved from the terraces, their excitement tempered by lessons in responsibility and observation. Back in the village, elders gathered younger members for lessons in history and ritual. They recounted tales of past emperors, heroic warriors, and sacred ceremonies, teaching the values of courage, respect, and communal duty. Lessons were woven into everyday life, whether through tending the fields, caring for animals, or preparing meals. Every task, no matter how small, was a lesson in harmony with nature and society. By afternoon, the rhythm of work and play continued. Women tended herb gardens, crafting remedies for common ailments and teaching the young the art of healing with local plants. Boys practiced climbing terraces and herding llamas, while girls learned weaving, cooking, and ceremonial preparations. Each action reinforced skills that would sustain the tribe and ensure the survival of its culture. As the sun dipped toward the western horizon, shadows stretched across terraces and homes. The village gathered near the temple once more, this time for a communal offering. Maize, quinoa, and small clay figurines were arranged carefully. Prayers were recited, and songs rose into the crisp mountain air. Even as labor ceased and meals were prepared, the spiritual heart of the community remained vibrant, reminding all that their existence was intertwined with the sacred forces of the world. As evening approached, the village settled into a reflective calm. The terraced fields, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, stood as monuments to the hard work of the day. Men and women returned from distant tasks, carrying harvested crops, repaired tools, and messages from neighboring settlements. Llamas, tired but steady, followed their handlers along the winding paths, their soft bells ringing a gentle song that echoed through the valleys. Children gathered near the central plaza, sharing stories and playing simple games that taught agility, observation, and teamwork. Their laughter mingled with the hum of conversation among elders, who discussed community matters, agricultural planning, and the upcoming rituals. These interactions reinforced social cohesion, ensuring that everyone understood their responsibilities and their place within the tribe's hierarchy. In the temple, priests performed the evening rites. Candles flickered against stone walls, casting intricate shadows that seemed to dance with the ancestors themselves. Offerings of maize, coca leaves, and small clay figurines were presented with solemn chants. The villagers, kneeling with hands clasped, felt the presence of Inti, the sun god, and Pachamama, the earth goddess. These moments reminded everyone that their labor, joy, and struggles were part of a larger cosmic order, demanding respect, gratitude, and devotion. Meanwhile, artisans worked quietly, finishing the day's creations. Pottery was smoothed and baked, textiles woven into intricate patterns that told stories of gods, mountains, and ancestors. Apprentices practiced diligently, guided by patient hands of their mentors. Even the smallest task carried meaning, reinforcing the value of skill, dedication, and cultural preservation. Each object became a testament to the community's identity and resilience. Families gathered for evening meals, sharing stews of potatoes, quinoa, beans, and occasionally roasted guinea pig. Smoke rose from hearths, mingling with the cool mountain air, as conversations flowed naturally, recounting the day's successes, small mishaps, and hopes for tomorrow. Elders offered guidance, young adults shared plans for future labor, and children listened intently, absorbing knowledge and tradition. Meals were more than sustenance. They were moments of unity, education, and reinforcement of social bonds. As night deepened, villagers retired to their homes. The moonlight illuminated the stone paths and terraced fields, revealing shadows of llamas resting and the silhouettes of mountains standing guard. Fires burned low, casting a soft glow over sleeping children and elders resting after a day of communal effort. The rhythm of life slowed, yet the mountain winds carried the echoes of work, play, and prayer, preserving the heartbeat of the Inca village even in darkness. Before sleep fully claimed them, a few elders and apprentices lingered outside, gazing at constellations etched across the clear night sky. They traced myths and legends, pointing to celestial guides and teaching the interconnectedness of the heavens, the earth, and human life. These moments of wonder nurtured respect for nature, history, and tradition, ensuring that knowledge would continue to flow through generations like the steady rivers feeding their fields. Morning arrived again, painting the terraces in soft shades of gold and pink. The village awoke with renewed purpose, each person moving with practiced efficiency. Farmers inspected their crops, checking for pests and assessing growth. The irrigation channels, carefully maintained over generations, carried water from distant streams, ensuring that every terrace received life-giving moisture. Labor was precise, communal, and deeply respected, as each contribution sustained the delicate balance of village life. Children followed elders along the terraces, learning the names of plants and the techniques of terrace farming. They carried small baskets, imitating the careful hands of their parents. Even in their play, lessons were learned: how to balance, observe, and respect the land. Their education was inseparable from daily life, merging practical skills with spiritual awareness, for the mountains, rivers, and fields were seen as living entities deserving care and honor. Women gathered herbs and flowers from nearby slopes, preparing them for both medicine and ceremonial use. These plants were more than utilitarian. They carried symbolic meaning and were integral to the village's rituals. Young girls observed, memorizing the properties and purposes of each plant. Through this intimate connection with nature, the next generation learned the responsibility and reverence necessary to sustain both life and tradition. Meanwhile, men repaired stone walls and pathways that had been weathered by mountain rains. Each stone was carefully placed, maintaining the structural integrity of terraces that had existed for decades. Such work was not only physical but spiritual, embodying the connection between the people and the mountains that had sheltered them for centuries. The village itself was a living testament to human ingenuity harmonized with nature. By mid-morning, the llamas were guided to grazing fields, supervised by attentive children and young adults. The animals provided wool, meat, and transportation, essential to both daily life and long-distance trade. Watching over them required patience, observation, and understanding of the herd's behavior. These tasks taught responsibility, empathy, and the delicate balance of stewardship, values that were deeply embedded in the Inca way of life. Artisans resumed their craft, the rhythmic motions of weaving, carving, and pottery creating a gentle soundtrack to the day. Each object produced was a reflection of community identity, ancestral knowledge, and sacred symbolism. Apprentices continued to learn, their small hands guided by skilled elders. Even mistakes were instructive, each imperfection a lesson in patience, resilience, and the pursuit of mastery. As the sun climbed high, meals were shared in communal spaces, combining practicality with social connection. Stews of potatoes, beans, and maize were accompanied by shared stories, advice, and laughter. Elders guided conversation, teaching values and recounting historical events that shaped the village. These gatherings reinforced community cohesion, ensuring that every individual understood their role within the social and spiritual fabric of Inca life. As the afternoon sun warmed the terraces, the village returned to its rhythm of labor and learning. Farmers checked the soil, turning it carefully to ensure optimal growth, while apprentices observed, learning the delicate balance of planting, watering, and tending to crops. Every task, from the simplest hoeing to the careful inspection of plants, carried meaning, sustaining life, community, and the sacred harmony with Pachamama, the earth goddess. Women worked in groups, spinning wool from alpacas and llamas into fine threads. The rhythmic movement of their hands over spindles was accompanied by quiet songs, passed down through generations, each note carrying ancestral memory. Girls watched intently, memorizing the intricate patterns and techniques. Through this practice, they inherited both skill and a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of craft, culture, and spirituality. Men repaired irrigation canals, checking for leaks and adjusting stones to guide water efficiently through the terraced fields. The murmuring flow of water was a lifeline for the crops and a constant reminder of the village's reliance on nature's resources. Children observed and assisted, learning how water could be directed, conserved, and honored, a lesson in stewardship that would define their adult responsibilities. Near the central plaza, elders taught young apprentices the sacred chants and ceremonial dances performed during important festivals. The precise movements and melodic intonations were both spiritual practice and cultural preservation. Each young participant internalized the symbolism behind gestures and rhythm, recognizing their role in maintaining the spiritual and communal integrity of the tribe. The marketplace saw a flurry of activity as midday traders arrived from distant valleys. Goods exchanged included rare herbs, brightly dyed textiles, and small ornaments crafted from clay and metal. Trade was conducted with a combination of gestures, bartering, and careful observation of value. These interactions were both practical and diplomatic, fostering alliances that strengthened the village's ties with surrounding communities. By late afternoon, children and adolescents practiced skills essential to survival and societal contribution. They ran along terraces, herded llamas, and assisted in preparing meals. Each task carried lessons of observation, responsibility, and cooperation. Through these daily activities, the younger generation learned the values, knowledge, and traditions that would sustain the tribe for decades to come. As the sun lowered, casting long shadows across the stone terraces, families gathered near hearths to share meals. Stews of potatoes, quinoa, and beans were complemented by roasted corn and occasionally a piece of dried meat. Conversation flowed naturally, combining practical discussion with storytelling, reinforcing communal bonds. The elders' guidance intertwined with children's curiosity, creating a continuous chain of knowledge, memory, and tradition. As dusk settled over the Andes, the village glowed in the warm, fading light. Families finished their evening tasks, ensuring animals were secure and terraces were prepared for the cool night. Llamas and alpacas rested peacefully, while children helped gather firewood and prepare small offerings for the household shrine. Each task, no matter how mundane, reinforced responsibility and the connection between individual effort and communal well-being. In the central plaza, artisans displayed their day's work. Pottery, woven textiles, and carved wooden objects were examined, admired, and sometimes traded. The patterns and symbols embedded in these creations were more than decorative. They were lessons in history, spirituality, and identity. Apprentices studied closely, memorizing techniques and absorbing the cultural significance behind every detail, preparing to carry this knowledge into adulthood. The priests prepared for the evening ceremony atop the temple terrace. Fires were lit, their flames flickering against stone walls as sacred chants filled the air. Villagers gathered, bringing offerings of maize, coca leaves, and small clay figurines. The ritual honored Inti, the sun god, and Pachamama, the earth goddess, acknowledging both the blessings received and the responsibilities owed. Even the youngest observed quietly, absorbing the rhythm and meaning of their ancestral rites. Meanwhile, women continued domestic tasks, cleaning, preparing threads, and sorting herbs and flowers for medicinal and ceremonial use. Their work combined practicality with devotion, demonstrating the inseparable connection between daily labor and spiritual life. Girls shadowed their mothers, learning the craft of weaving, cooking, and caring for the household, each movement a lesson in patience, precision, and reverence. Children played along the riverbanks and terraces, their laughter mingling with the soft murmurs of elders. Through play, they learned agility, observation, and teamwork, all necessary for tending fields and herding animals. Each small game mirrored larger responsibilities, preparing them to navigate the complex social and environmental demands of village life. By nightfall, the villagers gathered near the hearths for the final communal meal. Stews of potatoes, beans, and quinoa were shared, accompanied by roasted corn or occasional meat. Conversation flowed between generations, with elders recounting lessons, young adults offering insights, and children absorbing knowledge. These moments of shared sustenance reinforced bonds, transmitted values, and connected every individual to the collective experience. As darkness enveloped the mountains, the village settled into quiet reflection. Fires burned low, the llamas rested, and the terraced fields appeared serene under moonlight. Some elders remained outside, pointing out constellations, recounting celestial myths, and linking the cycles of the heavens to daily life. In this harmony of labor, learning, ritual, and rest, the rhythm of Inca life continued, deeply intertwined with nature, community, and the sacred forces that guided their existence. Dawn broke once again over the Andean peaks, painting the terraces in soft pastel light. The village awoke with purpose, each member resuming tasks that sustained life and reinforced communal bonds. Farmers checked irrigation channels, ensuring water flowed to every terrace. Children followed closely, learning how to adjust stones and guide streams, understanding that even small actions had far-reaching impact on the crops, the livestock, and ultimately the survival of the community. Women gathered herbs and flowers for both medicinal and ceremonial use. Their careful selection and preparation carried spiritual significance, as certain plants were believed to carry blessings from Pachamama. Girls observed, practicing the techniques under watchful eyes, absorbing knowledge not only of practical use but also of cultural heritage, ensuring that traditions would endure through generations. Men repaired terraces and stone walls, their hands skilled from years of experience. Every stone placed was an act of stewardship, a covenant with the land that sustained them. Children assisted, learning the precision and patience required to maintain these ancient constructions. Through this labor, They internalized respect for the mountains and recognition that human effort could harmonize with the natural world rather than dominate it. Near the central plaza, apprentices joined elders for lessons in weaving, carving, and pottery. Every creation was a story, a preservation of memory, and a reflection of spiritual belief. The young absorbed the techniques and symbolism behind each pattern, learning that their craft was both practical and sacred, connecting the material world to ancestral knowledge. By mid-morning, llamas were guided along the mountain paths to graze, supervised by attentive youths. These animals were vital, providing wool, meat, and transport, as well as serving in ceremonial offerings. Caring for them required observation, patience, and empathy, skills integral to the ethical and practical education of the tribe's next generation. As the sun rose higher, traders arrived from neighboring valleys. Brightly colored textiles, pottery, and rare herbs were exchanged. Trade was both practical and symbolic, reinforcing alliances and fostering communication across the region. Villagers conducted bartering with careful gestures, measured words, and keen attention to value, ensuring equitable exchanges and the maintenance of harmonious relationships. Afternoon brought a shift toward communal preparation and reflection. Women worked in herb gardens, men tended terraces, and children rehearsed songs and dances for upcoming rituals. Through this combination of labor, play, and learning, the younger generation absorbed the values, traditions, and skills necessary to maintain the cohesion and spiritual vitality of the community. As the afternoon sun began its descent, the village settled into a reflective rhythm. Farmers inspected the terraces one final time, ensuring all crops were secure, while apprentices assisted in minor repairs to irrigation channels. Every task, from tending plants to reinforcing stone walls, was a lesson in responsibility and foresight, emphasizing the interconnectedness of effort, sustenance, and community well-being. Women prepared for evening rituals, arranging herbs, flowers, and small offerings with care and devotion. Young girls assisted, learning both the practical and spiritual aspects of the tasks. Through observation and participation, they absorbed the traditions that would guide their adult lives, understanding that every action carried significance beyond immediate utility. In the plaza, artisans put finishing touches on pottery and textiles created throughout the day. Every item was imbued with cultural meaning, patterns and symbols reflecting ancestral stories, cosmology, and reverence for the natural world. Apprentices carefully studied each detail, learning precision, patience, and the sacred dimensions of their craft, ensuring that knowledge would endure across generations. The evening ceremony at the temple began as fires were lit along terraces and in courtyards. Villagers gathered with offerings of maize, coca leaves, and small clay figurines. Priests chanted prayers, invoking Inti, the sun god, and Pachamama, the earth goddess. The rhythm of their voices, combined with the scent of burning incense, connected the living to their ancestors, reinforcing the spiritual and social fabric of the community. Children played quietly along riverbanks and terraces, their movements mirroring lessons learned in agility, cooperation, and observation. Through these games, they developed skills essential for future labor, herding, and social participation. Play and work were inseparable, each reinforcing the values and knowledge necessary for sustaining the community and its traditions. Families gathered for the evening meal, sharing stews of potatoes, maize, and beans, occasionally complemented with roasted guinea pig or dried meat. Conversation flowed naturally, mixing practical guidance with storytelling. Elders recounted historical events, legends, and moral lessons, while the young listened attentively, internalizing the wisdom that connected past, present, and future. As darkness enveloped the mountains, the village quieted. Fires burned low, llamas rested, and the terraced fields appeared serene under moonlight. Some elders remained outside, pointing to constellations and recounting celestial myths, linking the cycles of the heavens to daily life. This harmony of labor, learning, ritual, and reflection ensured the rhythm of Inca life continued, intertwined with nature, community, and sacred forces. Night fully settled over the Andean village, blanketing the terraces and stone pathways in silver moonlight. The villagers completed their final chores, feeding llamas, securing tools, and arranging small offerings at household shrines. Each task, though simple, carried a sense of continuity and care, linking the day's labor to spiritual devotion and communal responsibility. Families gathered one last time around hearths for a quiet meal. Stews of potatoes, maize, and beans were shared, accompanied by stories, songs, and laughter. Elders reminded the young of lessons learned throughout the day, recounting ancestral wisdom, moral guidance, and the importance of harmony with both nature and society. Every word reinforced the values that had sustained the Inca for generations. Outside, the temple fires glowed softly as priests completed the evening ritual. Chants rose into the mountain air, honoring Inti, the sun god, and Pachamama, the earth goddess. Villagers knelt or stood respectfully, offering gratitude for the day's bounty and guidance. Even the youngest observers absorbed the sacred rhythm, understanding that each life was a thread in the larger tapestry of the universe. Children, exhausted but fulfilled, prepared for sleep, while elders remained outside, tracing constellations and recounting celestial myths. The stars told stories of creation, of heroic deeds, and of the delicate balance between humans, gods, and nature. These quiet lessons of wonder and reverence ensured that knowledge, culture, and spirituality would endure through the next generation. Finally, as the fires dimmed and the village settled into stillness, a profound sense of harmony prevailed. The terraced fields, the flowing canals, the resting llamas, and the sleeping villagers all became part of a living, breathing ecosystem. Each day of labor, learning, and ritual reinforced the resilience and unity of the Inca people, a society deeply attuned to the mountains, the sun, and the sacred forces that guided their lives. The day ended as it began, with gratitude, reverence, and a quiet understanding of one's place in the world. In this simple, intricate rhythm of work, devotion, and community, life in the Inca village thrived, carrying forward a legacy of balance, wisdom, and enduring connection to both the earth and the cosmos.